by placing a tariff on the companies that are not in this country, they're going to move into our country, and we're going to have our drugs made in the United States, so that in case of war, in case of whatever, we're not relying on China and various other countries to supply us with drugs, which is not a good idea.
The U.S. uses tariff as a weapon to exert maximum pressure and seek selfish gains, and puts its own interests over the public good of the international community. As the second and third largest economies, China and the EU collectively account for over a third of the global economy and more than a quarter of global trade. The head of the EU underscored the vital importance of stability and certainty for a sound global economy.
Conductor tariff that you posted on Truth Social today. What is the timeline for that? And I believe as Jameson Greer said today that those will not be negotiable. Once those tariffs are in place, they're not negotiable. Is that right?
But the tariffs will be in place in the not distant future because, as you know, like we did with steel, like we did with automobiles, like we did with aluminum, which are now fully on, we'll be doing that with semiconductors, with chips, and numerous other things. And that'll take place in the very near future.
And all the things.
And what we did is we want to uncomplicate it from a lot of companies because that's really where it should be, ideally. And we wanted to uncomplicate it from a lot of other companies because we want to make our chips and semiconductors and other things in our country. And I will tell you, another one is pharmaceuticals, drugs and pharmaceuticals. We want to make our drugs in this country. And by placing a tariff on the companies that are not in this country, they're going to move into our country, and we're going to have our drugs made in the United States, so that in case of war, in case of whatever, we're not relying on China and various other countries to supply us with drugs, which is not a good idea. And it'll happen very fast. It'll all happen very fast.
Do you know what rate the semiconductor tariff?
I'm going to be announcing it over the next week. And by the way, our country is taking in billions and billions of dollars on those tariffs. Billions of dollars. And maybe almost as importantly, or maybe more importantly, automobile companies, steel companies and factories, and aluminum companies and factories are opening up in our country. But we're taking in billions of dollars on just those three categories.
Speaking of steel, can you talk about your conversations with Nippon Steel and what? Yeah,
we're talking about different things, but I think that the United States Steel, one of the great companies of the world, U.S. Steel, should remain in our country. I felt that for a long time. This was one of the greatest companies in the world for a period of time, for a long period of time. It was the single greatest company in America. And I just don't think a foreign company should control it.
No, Mr. President.
And you know what? They're not going to have to, because the tariffs are going to make U.S. Steel do so well.
Friends from the press, welcome to the regular press conference of the Foreign Ministry. Now I'd like to take your questions. CCTV.
The world is closely following the disruption of the Trump administration's tariff hikes on other countries. As two major economies, China and the EU have recently had quite a lot of high-level exchanges. Could you share with us their communication and coordination on additional U.S. tariffs? The U.S. uses tariff as a weapon to exert maximum pressure and seek selfish gains, and puts its own interests over the public good of the international community. This is a typical move of unilateralism, protectionism, and economic bullying, which severely hurts the interests of China, the EU, and the rest of the world. As the second and third largest economies, China and the EU collectively account for over a third of the global economy and more than a quarter of global trade. Both sides are advocates of economic globalization and trade liberalization, and firm defenders and supporters of the WTO. the head of the EU underscored the vital importance of stability and certainty for a sound global economy. China and the EU are committed to a fair, free, and WTO-centered multilateral trading system and the sound and steady development of global trade and economic relations, which is in the interest of both sides and the rest of the world. As a responsible major country, China has already taken resolute measures and will continue to do so to safeguard its legitimate interests. China stands ready to work with the international community, including the EU, to step up communication, share development opportunities, expand opening up and cooperation, and achieve mutual benefits. We will not only safeguard our own respective interests, but also defend international trade rules, fairness, and justice. Next one, please. Please turn on your microphone. China Arab TV. The U.S. tariff policy has been repeatedly revised, and currently some Chinese imported products are exempt from tariffs. What's China's comment? Will China take mitigation measures correspondingly?
The spokesperson of the Ministry of Commerce has made clear China's view on this. Facts have shown and will continue to show that there are no winners in a trade war, and protectionism will lead nowhere. The tariff tsunami hurts the U.S. itself as well as other countries. We urge the U.S. to put maximum pressure and resolve issues through dialogue on the basis of equality, respect, and mutual benefit.
Foreign Ministry spokesperson recently said China will take firm countermeasures against the U.S. additional visa restrictions on Chinese officials determined to be substantially involved in the formulation and execution of policies related to access for foreigners to Tibetan areas. Could you share more details on those countermeasures? Xizang affairs are purely China's internal affairs. The U.S. arbitrary visa restrictions on Chinese officials under the pretext of the Xizang-related issues violate international law and basic norms. According to the law on foreign relations of the PRC and the anti-foreign sanctions law of the PRC, China decided to impose visa restrictions on U.S. personnel who have acted egregiously on the Xizang-related issues. Xizang is an open region. We welcome friends from foreign countries to visit, travel, and do business in China's Xizang region. At the same time, we oppose any country or individual using human rights, religion, and culture as a false pretext to meddle in Xizang affairs. We also oppose interference sabotage by people with ill motives who would use visits to Xizang as an opportunity to engage in such activities.